You're listening to REIA Radio, the nationally trusted name in real estate investing. We dig deep to discover investors' why in real estate. If you want to skip all the BS and get in investors' heads, you're in the right spot. Be one of the thousands to check out REIARadio.com.
Business by itself is amazing. I love it. There's so many great things about it. But is it really worth sacrificing all these other parts of your life? Like if you only pursue that and keep your eye on that as the golden prize? Because I'll tell you, that success when you're alone and there's a wake of carnage behind you in your relationships or your health, whatever it is, like, is it really worth it? Like, let's kind of like redefine maybe a little bit of what success looks like.
Welcome to REIA Radio, episode 262 with Jason Wojo.
Dude, I feel like I just need my WWF belt right now above my head with the fireworks going on. I'm walking to the ring.
Oh man. Okay, so I, as a jumping off point here, I thought I'd spring this question on you. In the world of fitness DVDs, do you think that Suzanne Summers with Thigh Master or Jason Wojo chest pressing 500 pounds 8 times and then a deadlift of, what was it, 715? I don't remember.
14 plates.
Yeah. There was, so we watched this before you popped on the screen, and holy crap, man. I completely adjusted my set of questions after that. What in the world? You were a beast. Like, dude, how did that happen? Okay, you got to give us some sound bites there, man, because that was monstrous what I witnessed a few minutes ago. And by the way, we may clip this in here so that anybody watching the video, jump on YouTube, because I think we're going to tie it in. It's as a special bonus treat on Halloween.
That's hilarious, man. That is hilarious, dude. Yeah, so in a previous life, I was a competitive bodybuilder, and that was my big thing. And the DVD came as a result of kind of wanting to, I guess, turn that passion into some sort of like both sharing with other people and, you know, a little bit of a business, really. And that actually turned into like my first, if you could consider it like a business, where I did some training for people virtually, not even in person, through exposure, through DVD, and through some of these victories I've had as a bodybuilder. But dude, like I was always a skinny kid growing up, man, like super skinny. And so when I started lifting after college, I got bit by that bug because I gained a couple pounds, and now I was like, you know, instead of 140 pounds soaking wet, like I was 145, and you just worked my way up, man, over a long period of time. But yeah, that's funny. You looked that up.
Did you get paid on those videos? Because you have some serious views.
Yeah, there were like 700,000 on one of them that we saw, the very first one that pulled up.
Dude, I did not, man. Like, this is how like ignorant I was with all this kind of stuff, and I don't even know. Like, yeah, and it's I missed the boat on that, I guess.
I would definitely log into that account because, I mean, you got some 35,000 views, 174,000 views, 28,000, 25,000, 115,000. I mean, like, you got some crazy views on these.
Okay. Now, all right. Now listen. All right. I'm going to share something with you here. So I think I have the secret if you really want to blow these videos up, because I know you got probably a whole stockpile of them. There's actually a Jason Wojo. Have you Googled yourself lately?
Yeah, dude. Okay. So this is the thing. This is the thing.
Go ahead.
So this guy's way better looking than me, way younger, but also way smaller. And so, like,
I don't know about the better looking part,
and he's out there, and his whole thing is marketing. So when people look up Jason Wojo, they find him, and I'm like, what? No, like, what do I do?
So maybe you're getting the benefit of his efforts to market the name Jason Wojo out there, and you're just an innocent bystander, but you're getting all these views now. Okay, so we did a little research. And I literally got almost an entire podcast into listening to the other Jason Wojo story, not knowing that it wasn't you. So like, and then I got my like background mixed up because I was like, wait, is this the dude that was
tell him the point that you made, like, this is the wrong person.
He goes, so some random podcaster that I was listening to, he asked him, he's like, so something about investing, or how do you think about business or whatever? And the guy's like, well, people always tell me, you should buy real estate because it'll help with your tax situation from your income. And he's like, bro, I'll just go out and buy a 6,000 pound Bentley and that'll take care of my cost or my tax situation. And I'm like, wait a minute, is this the right guy? This doesn't sound like the right guy, because I knew he's spoken in front of real estate groups and whatever. And the dude has like glasses, and he's, probably your 145 pound frame that you used to have. That's him now. And then I find you, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's a monster. What in the world?
I thought you were going to say, like, how is this guy? What happened? Like, why did he lose this?
I was like, wow, he lost all his hair. I don't know what is happening. So anyway, so it was quite the tumultuous research that we did on this, but I think we're
fantastic.
Okay, so
this is how every podcast Jason's been on starts, by the way.
Now, it seems that you are a lifelong student, literally, and you have the degrees to show for it. Now, did I have this right? You have 2 bachelor's degrees and a PhD in, what was it, biomedical science?
Close, man. Yeah. So the PhD is in immunology. And then I have master's in exercise science as well.
Wow. Okay. So, all right. You obviously did a hard left turn into something else along the way. What happened there? So you went to school, right? So you're trying to figure out what you want to do. You have a major. Talk us through that. So the college education, why 3 degrees? That seems
well, yeah, dude. So So long story short is like, I came from complete ignorance. And like, by the way, I'm probably still ignorant in a lot of things. However,
hey, you're in good company on this show.
When I was a kid, like I remember my dad sitting me down and say, hey, you want to have a good life, you need a good job. And so I'm like, okay, well, I want a great life. So I want a great job. So how do you get a great job? Well, I didn't have any connections. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to get a bunch of degrees and set myself up to be really qualified for whatever it is I choose to do. And so I got the first bachelor's. And then also I didn't have full clarity around what I wanted to do either. So I'm like, well, I may as well get a master's. And by the way, my first degree was in exercise science with a kind of emphasis on physiology. And then I'm like, well, I'll get a master's in this. And while I was getting that master's, I'm like, well, I feel like I'm still not sold on this exercise kind of thing. Like maybe I like more hard science. And so I got another bachelor's in biochemistry and molecular biology. And then once I did that, I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of cool. Did a few internships at medical schools, and then decided I didn't want to do medicine because I'd kind of found out what most physicians' lives kind of looked like in terms of their work hours. And then I decided to go to immunology because that was like a good kind of blend of science and medicine together. And so, dude, literally 15 years of school. And like part of that was because I genuinely enjoy learning, like I really do. And then part of it was not knowing exactly what I want to do. And the other part was like just wanting to prepare myself for someday so that I could get a great job and live the good life. Dude, I got that first job, and within a month realized like I don't want to work for anybody else. And dude, this whole castle came crumbling down. Like I'm like, I just spent 15 years in school. I was literally in my 30s, like for my first business experience. Like what an overeducated idiot I am. Here I am, make this realization.
Okay. Wow. All right. So a month in, you put in your notice. What was the plan? Like, what did you decide to do after that?
So I had 0 business experience, and I'm like, okay, well, I can at least wrap my head around real estate investing. At that point in time, one of my friends had given me a CD, if you guys remember what those things are, of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he talked about real estate. And I'm like, okay, like I can kind of wrap my head around this a little bit. And I think maybe I'd seen an episode or 2 of Flip This House back then. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'm going to investigate rehabbing. And this seemed like, okay, it can't be that hard. Like, how hard can it be? So that's when I kind of went down the rabbit trail of real estate. And that's where that first, because the fitness business that I had told you about prior, like wasn't really a business. Like it was dependent on me, number one, but like it was making, probably $1,500 a month, maybe $2,000. So I wasn't making any real money, but this, I'm like, oh, this is it. This is the ticket that's going to get me out of my job. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I went into that.
And where were you living at the time?
So I was living right outside of DC, Washington, DC, because my job was in the city.
How'd the first year go?
So I'll tell you, man, it was very eye-opening. So I was under contract, so I had to finish my contract. I didn't want to renege the contract. So I was on contract to finish my term there. I was working for the Navy. We're doing biological and chemical warfare research.
Oh, wow.
Which, by the way, sounds way cooler than it really was.
It does sound cool.
Yeah, right. And I actually had my boss pull me aside, say like, you're like actually like one of the most unmotivated, like, postdocs I've had here. And I was like, wow, that kind of hurts a little bit. But like, she's like, listen, if you're not passionate about this, like, I don't care what it is. If it's, I don't remember, she said, like, I don't care if it's open in a nursery or whatever it is. You got to pick something you actually enjoy. And I while I appreciated that, her calling me out on that, it was also, very confusing for me because I saw a lot of other people there that by all estimations, like some people loved it. Like some people really loved science and that was their thing. But a lot of people would kind of just seem to like be like eking through their days and like not really excited about what they're doing. And they kind of like come into work with just in a daze. And I'm like, dude, I can't do this. Like, I can't imagine playing this out another 20, 30 years, whatever it is for my career of doing something that I'm not passionate about. And so in the back of my head, I knew this plan was coming to fruition. I did not, do my business while I was on work time, like, cause I felt that would be unfair to my employer. But, those hours outside of work were going towards the real estate investing, learning like from scratch, really how to make that business work.
Can you timestamp this for us?
This would have been 2008, 2009 was that first year.
And you're like, hey, the world's ending. Great
time for real estate, right?
Yeah. But in hindsight, I mean, it probably was a pretty good time. I mean, flipping was hard then, but okay. So you pivoted into real estate. Like, tell us about that.
So I didn't have any reference like as to it being a hard time or good time because that was when I started. And so like I did notice that it was easier for me to find deals. Like the selling was a challenge, right? Like, so but I remember like all my first couple deals were MLS, like literally no marketing, just MLS. I was at HUD Home Store those days. I don't even know if that stuff's still around, right?
It is. I love that site.
And so that's where I started. And, I went to the REIA out there and it took me a little bit while to like actually pull the trigger on that first deal because like what would happen to me, and I was just so unfamiliar with this model. And Ted, you'll find this amusing, man. Like, a guru would come to the meeting and he'd get you all excited about multifamily. So I'd go buy that course. And then next month was a guy talking about notes. And I'm like, oh, I mean, I need to do notes. Like maybe multifamily isn't the right one. So I buy that course. And dude, I spent I'm like that. I was like that sucker at the back of the room who were like, oh, this looks good. Or this, dude, I have a closet full of courses, some still in the shrink wrap, by the way.
If every person we spoke to on the podcast had a course, we would be poor because we get so excited when we hear people talk about shit. We're like, oh, we got to do that next.
Right. Well, and it was kind of a little bit almost an extension of like, when I was in school and grad school, like I had enough credits, dude, for multiple more degrees than I actually applied for, just because I'm like, what if I need this? What if I need this? And that same mentality kind of followed me into business. Where, I had all these courses because like, what if this is the right one? What if that's the right one? And actually, this was really fortuitous. Like, so Steve Cook, who's the founder of Lifeonaire, the company that I now own and run, he was an investor in Baltimore. I ran into him at a auction.com auction and I got into his coaching program, and I give full credit to him for getting me through like those first few deals. And I remember him, really talking to me about like, hey, listen, like the people that I see succeed, like you got to pick one and you got to just go with one. Like this whole shiny object syndrome, the whole like, dude, and I've relearned this lesson multiple times, by the way. I didn't learn it the first time, but like that was pivotal for helping me make that transition.
So I started in 2005, but that was after 2 years of studying. And it was like, oh, lease options, flipping, wholesaling, like rentals, multifamily. And
he was listening to cassette tapes. So,
I was.
Yeah.
I actually was. Yeah. I would go. And matter of fact, I did the same thing. I would go to those seminars and whatever. And I was like, oh, man. And I had no money. And
that's funny because I was trying to do a dig. I didn't know he was actually listening to cassette.
I was. I had the who was that dude that did the mobile home parks? It was like no money down.
Oh, like Lonnie deals.
Yeah. Lonnie Scruggs, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So I all of those, man. It was, well, those were some wild times.
Lonnie Scruggs.
Did you?
I know, man. Poor guy.
So you kind of had a death by education with regard to decision making. It sounded like, maybe. But you did well your first year, if my research
So I cleared 9. I netted 6 figures my first year in real estate. And by the way, that first year in real estate, I still had my job.
Yeah,
because of like the overlap, and so that was really encouraging because the first flip, like I was like, okay. In the first flip, I think I made 33 and some change, which was about half of my salary, like working for the Navy. And I'm like, man, okay, I'm not good at math, but I can do this math. Like one deal or a full, two, half a year of work. Like I can figure this out. But then of course, like all the like self-doubt comes in, like, oh, what if it was a fluke? What if this is like just, and so I had to do another one. And then, so it took me 3 deals before I finally quit that job. And it took me about a year. It just aligned perfectly with like the end of my contract. So I had built up some confidence. It had also like reached the end of my agreement with the contracting company that I could leave. Now, interestingly, they offered me, I wasn't the bench scientist guy. Like that's what I did. That wasn't what I wanted to do forever. And so they offered me a position in tech transfer, which is essentially taking the developments and the advancements of technology off the lab bench and then bringing it to market. And while that was much more appealing to me, because now I had a little bit of, more business, more like application, I also would not escape kind of the shackles of having a job. And so I'm like, so I declined that. That's when I moved back to North Carolina.
Okay. Wow. So were you married at the time?
So yes and no. Meaning it depends which specific period you're asking about. So I had gotten married while I was up in DC, working in DC. And long story short, man, this is a painful story, but one that might be helpful for people. So my ex-wife was from Vancouver, Canada. So we had a little bit of a honeymoon period before she had decided to move out. And then we were married for about a year until one day she came to me. It was late at night. And I also, the other thing, I mentioned with the shiny object syndrome, like this is something that like I learned the hard way. So I had my real estate, I had my full-time job. I had the real estate investing business. I had become an agent. So I was licensed as a realtor. And then I was still doing the fitness stuff, the fitness training. And this is where like this sounds so corny now, man, but I'd have Post-it notes and I'd write like, hey, like, you got this, or like go hard or go home, and then sign it and like put it on the DVD. Like, so I was mailing out the DVDs and doing the personal training online. And so one night my wife comes to me and she's like, hey, can we talk? And it was way past her bedtime because I was always up late working. And she told me she wanted a divorce. And I thought that she just had a bad day at work. I thought she was just being emotional. You know what I mean? Like she missed her family. Like that's what I thought. I didn't realize she meant it. And she said that she had fallen out of love with me. She felt like we were roommates and that there was no connection there anymore. And she wanted to move back to Canada. And I remember telling her, like, this is the analogy, man. I was so dumb. I said, babe, I feel like the new iPhone is coming out tomorrow. We just camped out for 3 days in front of the Apple store. We're first in line. The door's opening in 5 minutes and you're getting out of line. Like, this is my first year in real estate and look how well I'm doing. Like, you give me 3 years, maybe 5 years, like we'll never have to work again. Like, I know I can do this. Dude, she didn't care at all. And me working all the time was not at all the only reason that we struggled, but it certainly didn't help. And that's when I realized it was like a day late, dollar short, where I just, she'd checked out. Despite my best attempts, she had moved on. And so that's kind of when everything came crashing down for me. Like, and so, I know the 6 figures sounds great to people, but like there was a really, really hefty cost associated with that.
When stuff goes sideways in a relationship, it's very common for the person that's getting approached by the other person to go into defense mode and say, well, yeah, you say that about me. What about you? And then you point out a lot of, things that maybe they're symptoms of the larger problem. Was that your first inclination, was like, well, what do you mean? I'm doing all this for us. Don't you see? And then she's like, you're never around. You're not available emotionally. You're not the dude that I thought I was going to build a life with. Is that how it went?
Yeah, dude, I definitely early on blamed her. I'm like, how can she not see this? Now, by the way, this took me years to actually recognize, like, there was a selfish ambition there too. Like, I had never made 6 figures before, so there was plenty of that in there too. Like, it took me a long time to actually reveal that to myself and accept that. But like, I blamed her. I'm like, look at how, like, we had, by the way, we had a 3-story brick home and a gated community. I'm like, look at all this, like, we haven't made, like, what are you unhappy with? And I kind of blamed it on her. Like, oh, you're just never happy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that was a defense mechanism. And I think in every relationship that there's always usually 2 people involved, but I had really minimized my involvement up to that point. Now that didn't that didn't keep me from trying to really retain it, because like retain the relationship. And because like I my parents got divorced, man, and it was not good, and it really affected me, and I didn't want that. Now fortunately we did not have children together, because that would have been even, oh man, I can't even imagine. But I really didn't want it to end, even though we had some things to work through, but she didn't feel the same way. Today I don't blame her, and I know I got remarried in 2017. I got 2 young girls, and so like life is way different than maybe it would have been had I saved that marriage. But like certainly the lesson really stuck with me.
At what point did you finally reflect on yourself to say that this was me? Like, obviously at that time you didn't feel that way, but was it when you met your now wife that moment finally kind of was a reflection to you, or did that happen somewhere in between?
It was in between, because like this is something that really sat with me. Like, so my dad died when I was young, not young, but he died at 57. I think I was like 30 years old. And this divorce shook me harder than that, if that makes sense, because like in my mind, my dad didn't control that he died, right? But like this, I'm like, hey, you're walking away from me. And so that really struck me really hard. And so I mean it, like when I literally almost didn't get out of bed for a month after this. And that's a whole story. I'll tell you what happened from there. But like it really hit me, but it was mostly stewing about like, defending myself and looking at it from like, how could she think this? And it took me probably a couple years to really see that contribution that I made. And some of it actually came, so fast forward, like, and we can go back to fill the gaps, but like I had become a coach for Lifeonaire, and I started seeing these patterns in couples, and I'm like, dude, like I kind of did the same thing. Wow. Like I didn't even see that, like that I contributed that amount to this. And some of that, like, I think was early on was a defense mechanism to prevent myself from being hurt. Right. So like I just placed the blame on the other person, or like, cause I was maybe not ready to accept my contribution to the problems.
Yeah. It's definitely a pride thing to, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a real shot to your pride and your ego, and like you feel like a failure and those kind of things. So you mentioned you went through a period of, it sounds like depression shortly after that. When you're kind of picking yourself up and dusting yourself off after a huge gut punch like that, how did you dig out of it?
So for me, it was really 2 things, and maybe 3 things. And this may not appeal to everyone, but two things in particular, and one to a lesser extent. The first one is actually, like, this was a huge point for me where I started investigating my faith, actually. Like, it was like, I just felt like I had nothing, like I was bankrupt, like as a person. And that's when I really started investigating my faith. That was one thing. The second thing was, and I don't know where I got the idea for this. Maybe it was given to me, or maybe I had it, but I started volunteering. And so I was doing a lot of stuff for like, Habitat. I started helping people with their finances. I started like, just serving more. And what I realized is like, wow, like helping other people made me feel better and took my mind off of my own problems. Like, and it just like, it became much more palatable. And I also realized like some of the problems people had were way worse than mine, like way worse. And so by comparison, I'm like, wow, what am I complaining about here? And then the third thing really was I had a couple really good friends who were literally checking in on me every day because they knew I was like in a bad, dark place. And that made all the difference for me, man. Now, by the way, some of my friends scattered, like some people I thought were friends. And so that was really painful. That actually added some pain in some areas, because I realized like people that I thought would be there were not. And then other people who had stepped up.
I tell you what, there's so many times that these stories are coming up with specifically business owners in general, not just real estate, where, time is not put into the family, time is not put into the spouse, and we're always working. But I think that there's so many people that are starting to realize that you do need to have that work-life, family-life balance. You need to know when the clock is turned on and when the clock's turned off. Sometimes, getting up earlier is the answer than staying to work later, because we discussed numerous times that how important it is, at least for me, that at 5 o'clock, I don't answer the phone anymore, because now I'm turning on, now I'm dad, coach, husband, or husband, dad, coach, however you want to look at it. But you get my point. There's different priorities. And I think if you're listening to this right now, this is a good self-reflection. The fact that, Jason's just opened himself up like this, that you got to look at yourself and look at yourself. How can I be a better person? Maybe I'm not married yet. Maybe I don't have kids yet, but maybe I can be a better influence in my community. Maybe I can be a better influence in my church. Maybe I can get more involved in volunteering at my real estate meetup. Whatever it takes, find a way to give back, find a way to do good. And then when you do have that family, you can be able to step right in to be able to be that person that can be more available for your spouse, for your partner, for your kids, because really it's more than just making money and doing real estate and doing deals. It's about being that person that can step up and people look up to and respect. And that's hard sometimes. It's hard to be able to maintain that when you're always busy and always running. You got to look at both sides of that.
Dude, so true.
Yeah, it's tough. And I applaud you for being so vulnerable in that, because people need to hear that.
Like, I think if people recognize, like, business by itself is amazing. I love it. There's so many great things about it. But is it really worth sacrificing all these other parts of your life? Like, if you only pursue that and keep your eye on that as the golden prize, because I'll tell you that success when you're alone and there's a wake of carnage behind you in your relationships or your health or whatever it is, like, is it really worth it? Like, let's kind of like redefine maybe a little bit of what success looks like.
I think the hardest thing with society in general is success typically is tied to financial and or business, and that's easily measurable because dollar signs typically are what you use as your end zone. And the more you get, the more successful you're perceived to be. The hardest part about it is life is, I mean, how many facets of life are there? I mean, there's your relationships, whether it's your kids, your wife, your friends, your business associates, all those things. You don't have that same measuring stick where there's a bar that shows how well you're doing in relation to how you were before or how other people are doing. So it's immeasurable metrics that make it so difficult to reconcile how you perceive success in life, right? Because it's so closely tied to finances or business success. How do you approach that when the measuring sticks are really hard to find with regard to the other aspects of things other than money?
Dude, I think that's a really insightful point that I hope everybody really listens to, like, is because, and by the way, we are naturally, I think a lot of people as a culture, we want to know where we fit in that hierarchy, and financial success is an easy metric to use because we all visualize it. It's tangible. Now, by the way, I'd also say though, if you peel back the layers of that, like, of that onion, we don't know. I was just talking to my daughter about this. We know what people show us. We don't really know what people are living and experiencing. And so we may see the nice house and the cars on the surface, but behind closed doors, that could be all financed on debt for all we know, or credit cards, or they could be having nightly fights and spats and their kids are feeling like alienated from their parents. And like, there's so many things that we don't know. So I think the first thing is like just recognizing the face value of those things to be nothing more than the tip of the iceberg. And you just don't know what's beneath that and what's behind it. The other thing that you mentioned though too is like, I don't think we really celebrate and kind of pursue the things that arguably are more important, which is, our health, our relationships with our loved ones, the experiences, the memories we have, like the community we've built around ourselves. And one of the ways I think you can look at this is like, at our eulogy, I don't know if anybody's going to talk about how much money we made, or like when you really distill down what's most important. Are we putting our priority and our pursuit in alignment with that? Or are we pursuing this other thing that, and by the way, like money does solve money problems. Like, sure, it absolutely has utility, but I think you got to just be careful that this doesn't become like that. I kind of think of it like this, man. I don't know if it's like the Odyssey or one of those books with like the guys on the ship are sailing by the seashore with all the rocks and the sirens are kind of calling to them and to try to like get them to crash their ship. Like that's how business can kind of be sometimes. And it is alluring. And listen, I really enjoy making money. I really enjoy some of the fruits of having that money, but I'm not willing to do it. And if I'm going to sacrifice some other parts that I've learned like firsthand that maybe can't weather that storm, and I'm going to sacrifice too much and it's going to be unrecoverable.
I'm totally putting you on the spot with this, but being that you're the CEO of Lifeonaire, which, by the way, can you give maybe a quick description of what that organization is and what it's about?
So this is the organization that was founded by Steve Cook, and just think of the word millionaire, except with a life, substitute, money for life. And so the mission of Lifeonaire is really to help entrepreneurs and business owners and investors like really prioritize the things that are most important without sacrificing business success along the way. So like, how do you really have both? And I guess the name kind of like conveys the purpose of like, of Lifeonaire. And so, does that help?
It totally does. How
now,
do you
Steve Cook, when I Google him, by the way, he comes up as a bodybuilder also.
Dude, this is the funniest thing ever because like, yeah, Steve Cook. So like, think about this. Both of us have like these alter egos out there. And the other one, yeah, it's a bodybuilder. How hilarious is that, right? That is not him. That is not him.
I feel like you just chose a name of some dude that was really jacked and just stole it. Oh, that's funny. No, I guess where I'm going with this is, in your experience in doing Lifeonaire and the evolution that you've gone through in being mostly a workaholic, it sounded like, that led to partially to the demise of your first marriage. Have you figured out a way to establish like KPIs or metrics around other areas of life than just business? So, how do you measure your success in your relationship with your spouse or significant other, with your kids, with your friends? Those kind of things. Are anything like that out there that you found helpful?
So I wouldn't say that we have a specific metric, like a numerical value, because also realize that some of these things are, well, and I think if you really wanted to, you could probably devise some kind of way like, hey, how many fights did we have this week? How many times did we connect? But one of the things we use in Lifeonaire is like really just taking the time for someone to create their vision of what their ideal, let's say a relationship with their spouse. Like, what does your ideal relationship with your spouse look like? And really as much as you're able to like make that very, very like, make it tangible in terms of how you spend your time together, the feelings that you have, like whether it's intimate time, whether it's like, how that looks from every level from top down. And then I think as you reflect on that regularly and you keep it in front of you, you kind of know like, hey, I have this one, but this one is something I still have to work on. And you can kind of start to get an informal metric for how you're doing in terms of like what percentage of my vision in this area am I currently like satisfying and what do I still have to work on?
Is there kind of an invisible metric with regard to how you feel about yourself as a measuring stick?
When you say about yourself, are you saying like you're like how you feel as successful or confident, or like which feelings would you be referring to?
Maybe I'm having a hard time describing this, but I'm just thinking of times where I've really gone heads down and worked a lot and done some, really successful things with relation to my business. Yet I feel bad, or I feel like I'm neglecting my kids or my wife or my relationships or my other responsibilities. And I don't feel good about that, even though I really was successful in this one facet. So I guess is it a feeling more than anything of like, I feel like I have done as well as I possibly can with the time I have available and the energy I have available in all of these areas cumulatively. Like, we're getting back to kind of like the balancing act of all this. Or is that just a pipe dream?
No, man, that's a really good point, because the thing that I've seen entrepreneurs struggle with is like, hey, I can kick butt in business, but now I feel guilty that I'm not with my family, or I'm with my family and I feel guilty that I'm not getting stuff in business.
Yep.
And so it kind of robs you of both of those. And so it doesn't matter what you're doing, you're always feeling guilty. And so it kind of robs you the sense of like enjoying that success, right? And so one thing I've seen is really that helps with this is I think it's also with business. I just want to be clear, like there's always something to do. I used to think I could finish my to-do list. I've so given up on that, like, because I realize like as I get better and more aware, I see more things kick, and by the way, of course, we all know that one thing you put in a to-do list has like 3 other prerequisites that now you forgot about. You have to add those on. And so for me, what I feel like the way to avoid that sense of like constant guilt is to really, number one, accept you're never going to catch up, and ask yourself the question like, well, if I don't get it done, like, so what? Like, can I just finish it tomorrow? If I'm going to retain, like, one of the things I'm really passionate about is like helping people retain boundaries around when they say they're going to work. And then really listen, it's heads down work. We're not surfing social media. We're not doing like the fluff. We're like doing the stuff that matters. But then when it's over, to your point, like of putting the phone away, and, like Ted, you mentioned this, is like, it's done. It's done. And you move on and you transition. And now you're 100% dad, 100% whatever it is, spouse.
I think that comes with time blocking.
Yeah, it does come down to that, man. And listen, yes, of course there are busy seasons to life and business, and I get it. But many of these self-imposed deadlines that we feel the need to get things done, not always, but many times we just want to get it done. Like, it's this sense of this thing clawing at us that we have an unclosed loop. We have an open loop that we feel the need to finish. But if we can learn to like just let that go and be okay with it, it may allow us to like just remove that pressure to feel like we have to, spill into our dinner time or, kids' soccer game time, so that we can just like, well, you know what? I'll do it tonight after the family goes to bed if I really want to get it done, but I'm not going to rob my family of that time. And that's really what it is. It's like, it's other people versus business, meaning like your family and the people that are most important. Like those are the balls that I think that need the attention, and your health too. Like, because that's another, certainly for me, like I can find myself being tempted to like work into my gym time, and then I won't work out today. I'll do it tomorrow. Like, I'll push it off. So those you got to look out for. But like, I feel like that's something that is helpful for people to kind of make that transition.
You do coaching, right? With Lifeonaire, or
yeah, I don't coach anymore, but we have coaches. Yes.
Yeah. Have you found that that's a common thread with entrepreneurs that are trying to get their life in a better place, that the things they struggle with are going to be fitness and marriage and relationship with their kids?
Most of them, I would say, yeah, most of that. So we have some people that come to Lifeonaire and maybe they need help with their business and they don't really know how to kind of scale without just adding volume and more hours. And so that's one population. But the other population is people that have already have successful businesses that have realized, like, man, like my wife and I like are not doing well, and if it continues along this path, like another 6 months may not be a good place. And so, I had a discussion with a guy recently who, worked super hard so that he could have a bunch of passive income coming in so he could spend time with his daughter. Well, guess what? Like his daughter now is 12 and she doesn't want to have anything to do with dad because he worked her entire childhood. And I'm like, how do you fix that? Right? It's a lot easier to prevent it or mitigate it early on before you make that mistake.
Yeah. How do you look at continuous partial attention with regard to, having devices? Like, society is a societal norm now for everybody to be looking at their phone while they're talking to you. I find I struggle with that also. I'm guilty of it, even though I know better. And I'll find myself, my kids trying to have a conversation with me, and I'm like, yeah. No, I'm listening. I'm just, and I did that to you earlier.
You did.
Like,
it was very rude.
Well, I was doing it first. You interrupted me. Anyway, so but how do you balance that? I mean, is it just something you live with, or do you have a hard and fast rule where you're like, you know what, I'm putting my phone down, you're talking to me, I'm all in?
So within our family, like I can tell you, and what I've seen with other people is like having really rigidly defined boundaries. Like, for instance, like the only person I will take a call from after 5 p.m. is my mom. Like, even if my brother or sister, well, sometimes like my brother and sister, but usually I'll try to get them in during work hours, because I do not want any interference with my family, because I know, like, I've heard the stories and I know what it's like when, your kids see you on your phone constantly and, dad, come play with me. And you're like, yeah, 1 second, honey. Like, and you're reading it, you're scrolling or whatever. Like now. And so I think in those cases, I think it's really valuable as well to kind of understand, like, why do I feel the need to pick up this phone? Is it that I'm going to miss out on something? Am I trying to learn something? Am I distracting myself from something? Like, what is the reason I'm doing that? But with that said, I've also found it sometimes to be valuable. Like, and this may sound like hypocritical to what I just said, but like, for instance, if I'm on the treadmill, I'm watching YouTube videos because I'm like, I can learn while I'm working out. Mm-hmm. Or if I'm in my car, I'm listening to podcasts or I'm talking on the phone instead of listening to music. And so in some regards, I try to use technology as a benefit to double dip in some activities. Certainly not with things that when it comes to like really like where someone needs your attention and they notice whether you're paying attention or not. Because we've all had those conversations where you're talking to somebody and you can tell they're like not fully listening. You're like, are you checking your email right now? Like, what is going on?
You hear them typing in the background.
Oh yeah, you're like, dude, come on, I hear you.
I have a business partner that does this every time. It drives me. Yeah,
I used to be hard and rigid with this, and I would say, "Hey, I get home, I took my watch off, I took my phone, I put it in the garage, I left it there, I had my backpack there." And since then, there's been some life changes. I let go of my property management company, and I took on, running my own Airbnbs. As we know, Airbnbs are very hands-on clients. It's a hospitality business. So what changed is when it came to the family, I have my favorites list. I have an iPhone, so I have my favorites list on there. And when I'm in family time mode on my phone, only the people on my list can call and text me. It's the only ones that come through.
Am I on there?
Yeah, you are actually. And so there's that list. Now, also, I'm like, hey, if I get an Airbnb, I have to take that. So, I set that precedence. But also, when we're at the dinner table, there's no distractions because we dinner together every night at the table, no matter if it's a 10-minute quickie or if we're having a full-blown dinner, it's at the table and there's no devices allowed at the table. So we have our various rules. I think that every person needs to look at their family, their situation, decide what's best for them. Just because we say, hey, absolutely none or partial, you got to decide what's best for you if you're listening to it. But I think it's really important, especially if you have a family at home, that you have rules and that you stick by them, because everybody around you is going to look at them like, hey, is that the standard or not the standard? And if I do pick up the phone, my kids are the very first ones to say something to me.
Oh, you got them trained, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, that's that's a good reminder. I just, it's so hard, man.
Dude, it is hard. But and listen, like I find myself guilty of this too. Is I'll get a couple seconds in, and I sit here and, like, for instance, between a call or whatever, or I get up to make something to eat, I'm like checking my phone, and I can sit here and argue that I'm being productive and I'm going to check whatever. But like, honestly, like, so last night, for instance, like, so I had the Clayton Mask, the guy who's writing the forward for this book. He emailed me. He's like, hey, I got the forward done, and I'm like, I was super excited, and then I realized, like, okay, why did I even check this right now? Because I'm not going to read it on my phone. It could have waited till the morning when it was supposed to be done. And I just,
because you're excited.
Yeah. Like, but did I even have to check why did I even check my email? Like, what we've become, so, you know what I mean? Dude, I remember
dopamine addiction, man.
It so is, man.
But something like, let's just give it some credibility. You're writing a book. You're excited about this coming out. And that's the thing that is heavily on your mind right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been putting hours, days, months into this book, and you got everything into it. Of course, you're going to be a little bit more excited about that than everything else. It's like buying a property. Like, you want to know if the deal, maybe you were waiting for some paperwork on that property to close, and you're going to watch it. There's certain things that take some precedence over other things.
I think you got to be careful with it. More times than not, I think the amount of times that something like truly urgent pops up, like, it's so minuscule. Like, it is really so infrequent, depending on how you've set your life up. Like, I get it. Like, sometimes if you're doing certain things, but more times than not, I do see people abuse it. Like, I remember we had one guy in Lifeonaire who, this is a big fight between him and his spouse. They were on date night and his phone rings. He was having his phone ring from his marketing campaigns. And he's like, he felt that tension. He's like, okay, like, I'm here with my wife. It's date night, but I just spent a ton of money on these postcards. I got to take this call. He's like, baby, I'll take this call. It'd be 5 minutes. Okay. Does a seller call ever take 5 minutes? No. 30 minutes later, he came back. She had already boxed up all the food. She was pissed. Like, of course. Like,
yeah, we never do that.
Like, and so, like, people, we sometimes, even despite our best intentions, we kind of get sucked into this. And so my encouragement is just like, don't put yourself in that situation. Like, this is where, like, for instance, like, totally taking a rabbit trail here, but like people that have like an affair, right? How about you just don't put yourself in a situation where you'd ever even be tempted, and just remove yourself from the environment. Like, if you find yourself like, hey, like, I'm going to the gym and all these girls are walking around like in scantily clad clothes, and I'm finding myself like really looking at this, go to a different gym. Like, whatever it is for you. And it's the same thing with technology. Just like avoid the temptation. It's like the easiest. Cause like, I don't know about you. Like, I'm weak. Like, if it's in front of me, I'm going to check it. If the candy bar is on my desk, like, that Milky Way bar looks great. Like, let's just avoid it by not having it there. Right.
Yeah. The precursor is the thing that actually causes all of the rest. Right.
Dude, so true.
Avoid that. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Okay. So, I'm sorry I'm spending time on this, but I love, I mean, you've obviously put so much time thinking about this and building a life around these principles that I'm taking full advantage of the fact that I have you on a mic here.
That's great.
But how do you reconcile the drive to achieve financial or business success with the immeasurability of the other facets of your life, knowing that, actually, this is a two-parter. So how do you reconcile the fact that you can do more with feeling like you need to or wanting to spend time with other people and allocate your time accordingly?
Yeah.
And, like, how do you know what the balance is? Like, here's where I'm going with this. So I'm 50. I've been in real estate and been an entrepreneur for, 20 years. And I keep getting more and more and more opportunities that are coming my way. And I've figured some things out, and I have connections that I never had 20 years ago that it's easier for me. So if I see something come along, and it may not just be a deal, right? But it may be a business opportunity or a relationship or a trip I need to take to foster a relationship with somebody else. How do you say no to that? How do you figure out what to say no to? Because they all look good. Like, dude, there's so many opportunities that are coming my way now where I'm just like, well, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to also learn that. And I'm like, hold, slow your roll here.
I did see you post that you just walked some warehouse space.
I did. Yes. I've never done that before. So anyway, I'm curious your take on that. And I know that's a huge question. So
So a couple different talking points in that. The first thing I'd say, like, and I know I said this earlier and it sounds very like very trite, but like if you really know like what you want your life to look like, that's the first step. And again, money can be part of that. But the thing I would ask is like, so let me address the money side first and then some of the other parts. So, and this may be different for somebody starting off, I get it. But if I made another $1 million or $5 million this year, nothing would change. Like I would not do anything different. I wouldn't buy a new car. I wouldn't buy a new house. You know, I might, maybe I'd get like a personal chef maybe to come in and cook my food. I'm not sure. I kind of enjoy that a little bit. But the reason I say that is because like money isn't going to get me closer to the life I want to live after a certain point. And once you make enough money for your lifestyle, for the life you want to live, and there's a little bit of unpacking there. Because some people I see will want like the private jets and the Malibu home, which in fact they really don't want, but they think they want because they've never experienced it and they don't understand it. So once you really unpack what you want, that's kind of like the amount of money you need to make to live your dream life. Now, should you stop there? Well, it depends. So the way I look at it is I do want to make more money, but I also want to do it within the confines and the boundaries of how I've set up my life so that my kids or my wife or whatever it is, my health isn't going to take a hit. So for me, the new challenge isn't just making more money. It's like, how do I make more money while also doing these things, which is honoring my personal vision? So to me, it's a more fun game to play because more money, oftentimes, if you find something that works, is a result of just scaling and continuing and putting in more volume and more reps. But when you can look at it from a perspective of having like you looking at it as even an intellectual challenge of like, how can I do this and still do that? Like for instance, like improv, like there's an exercise, they call it yes and. Like, so you always have to agree with the person who says something before you, and then you add an and to it. And so I kind of think that model in business is really interesting if you really apply it. Like, hey, and guys, none of my degrees are math, so I'm always using easy math. I'm making $500 a year. I want to get to 750 within a couple of years or next year. How can I make that much more money without putting in more hours? And so what is it structurally within the hours that I'm currently putting in that I can do differently to get us to that level? And so it's a different kind of question. And even though something within your life, and by the way, that's just me. Like I always feel like we need a challenge. I always feel like all of us need a mountain. Like if you don't have anything you're striving for, like life is boring. At least that's my thoughts. So for me, that extra money now, though, that's what allows me to make more of an impact with other people and help other people and give to charities and whatnot. And so like that margin now, even though my life isn't different because I've already taken time to create my vision, I already know how much it's going to cost. I already have that set up. Now that extra amount goes to other things beyond myself. And so that's why, like, you know, people have asked me like, well, when's enough, man? Like, how much money do you need to make? And I'm like, well, I don't think that's a great question. Like, because like, it's not that enough is never enough, because when it's about you and your lifestyle and like the goalposts keep moving. Like, dude, I remember there was a period of time in my life where I'm like, I remember saying this, like, if I just had $5,000 in the bank, dude, I would be golden. Like I would just, all these worries would be gone. I'd be psyched. Then what happens? You hit $5,000 and then what? If I just had $10,000 in the bank, then it's like 20, 50, 100, it keeps going. It does not stop. And you don't feel any differently. And by the way, someone told me this a long time ago and I'm like, yeah, right. Let me I'll prove it for myself. He was right. It was Steve. Steve told me this. He's like, listen, he's like, I got to the point where like, you know, I had $500,000 in the bank and I'm like, I just need $1 million in the bank. He's like, that's when I realized like the insanity of like, you keep going. And so that's the money side of things. Now to the opportunity side of things, man, here's what I'd say. What I like is look at your vision and say, how do these opportunities align with what I'm currently doing? And are they better? Like, because sometimes an opportunity truly is better than what you're doing. And it truly fits more vision, you know, in terms of alignment than what you're already into. In that case, it's great. And I've experienced this myself, man, where like, I've had to say no to things that like 5 years ago, I would have like cut off my left arm for, right? And like now they're like coming at you left and right. And you got to continually say no because it's not getting you closer to where you really want to be. And by the way, this is what part of what makes us great at what we do is like, we have this insatiable almost need to conquer, to like, to win, to like expand, to grow. And sometimes like that means actually like, you know, scaling back and focusing on what we enjoy and what we're doing and not like that shiny object, because we can't do everything. We just can't. We have limited resources, no matter who we are.
I think you just gave me a light bulb moment, because my business coach has been like hammering on me. He's like, you got to do more stuff. You got to have more money opportunities come in through your group. You got to create these different events and so on, so on, and so on. He's always like, you're worth more and you can do more. But never once did he ever say that, how many more people can you impact by doing these different events, by bringing more money? What will that change in your group? How many more opportunities will you have in the people in your circles because you're making more money? And I think if it was stated like that, I think my mentality would have been a little bit different, because I'm like, if this REIA business can make more money, then I can bring in higher level speakers. I can create different types of one-off events. I mean, I can do a lot more for my community. And that excites me more than telling me that I need to make more money because you want me to be a guru or you want me to be a coach. Because the more people I impact, inevitably the more money I'll make. And I liked how you made me think a little bit differently of that, and it changed my mindset there. So I appreciate that.
Dave Ramsey said there's only so many times you can have lobster before it tastes like soap. And so like when it is about you, at some point, you guys know this, at some point, like it's all kind of like, the new car, the jet ski, the boat, like it's all great. It's fun. But like at some point, like it loses a little bit of that like luster.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to throw one more kind of deep think topic on you here. So you know how it's, I guess, widely held belief that a lot of times introverts and extroverts end up together in some way, shape, or form, whether it's a husband, wife, business relationship, whatever. You're typically attracted to somebody that has a different mindset or approach than you do. So introverts, extroverts unite, type thing. Would you agree with that?
It's interesting, man. I think oftentimes that could absolutely be something where you're attracted to somebody who exhibits something you don't yourself, have as a natural part of your personality, maybe.
Yeah. And I guess to take it a step further, I've just noticed from several friends, I'm, like I mentioned, I'm 50. So a lot of, 50% divorce rate in America, or I think it's America, maybe it's worldwide, but you see a lot of relationships falling apart. I'm going to several second weddings now. You know what I mean? And a lot of times introverts and extroverts, when they're together, what you notice after a period of time, or at least the failed marriages that I've encountered, introverts feel like they are not good enough, and extroverts feel like they're being held back. And a lot of times that seems to be a developing wedge that occurs in that relationship. What do you think about that?
I haven't seen that a lot in terms of like the relationship challenges that we've had in Lifeonaire. Most of the challenges I've seen have been around really communication issues more than anything. I'd say number one, communication issues. And then secondly would be like really becoming lazy in the relationship, where not loving that person and giving the attention like you once did. But that's a really interesting perspective that you mentioned that, man. Like I hadn't thought much about that. I'd never really had given that much consideration, but I could totally see why that could be a thing.
Yeah, this is, it's just such a big topic. And I know it's,
and it's 41% of all marriages in the United States end in divorce, just so you know.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh.
First time marriages.
I thought it was actually above 50%.
Yeah, 41%.
Interesting.
So, but by the way, I think with each successive marriage, like that divorce rate goes up after that. So it can, like your second marriage, I believe it's higher than the first marriage. Help us out, Ted. Like we need.
That's our crack research team.
I know we got our team like right here in the line.
60 to 67% of second marriages end in divorce.
Whoa,
dude!
Wow,
because you've broken the bond once, and you're like, okay, well, this sacred thing called marriage, like we already did it once, like yeah.
Guess third marriages.
Oh, gee, I don't even know.
73% of all third marriages.
Wow, that's crazy.
Wow. I had no idea.
You heard it here first, folks. The Bureau of Labor and Statistics.
I'm so glad I started putting the laptop over here.
Oh, that's great. Well, man, this is so good. I love all the stuff you're sharing about some wide-ranging topics here. But we do have in our program here one section that we call Failing Forward, where we talk about a situation, life, happening that occurred that maybe didn't go according to plan, and some lessons you learned through it. Do you have anything that you might be able to give us an example on?
Yeah, man, the biggest one really for sure is the marriage failure that I experienced that I shared earlier. And the failure there is really, well, actually, let me say this. I probably could have avoided that entire situation even prior to the marriage if I had really taken the time to create a vision for the perfect spouse that I wanted. and then really stuck to that. And I wasn't familiar with this whole vision thing before we got married. By the way, she's a beautiful person, but we didn't align on a lot of things that maybe we wouldn't have been the right match for each other prior to that. But the bigger mistake that I made that really I think has resulted in, unfortunately, like allowing me to learn these lessons is like, when I was going through this, I remember Steve Cook, my mentor, telling me, hey man, I think you probably, you don't really talk about your relationship much. Tell me what's going on there. And I explained what was going on. And he's like, I think you probably need, I know the business is exciting. It's new, but like, I really think you got to kind of focus on your relationship. Cause I think, there's some things there that probably need to be addressed. And I kind of pushed it off a little bit. I'm like, yeah, I got it. It's not a big deal. Like we're good. And here we are, me not fully accepting or realizing how bad it really was. He saw something there that I didn't see. Maybe I was, too close to the canvas or whatever, but he saw that. And so perhaps if I would have done that, we wouldn't have been divorced to begin with. Now, the good thing that came out of that, if there's a good thing, is like, and aside from like my family and the life I have now, is like, I recognized how truly linked business and life really are. We tend to think they're separate, and you can have a great life and a bad business, and it's not going to seep into the other, or vice versa, where you have things struggle in your business and affects your life. And so really, like I've really adopted a much more kind of holistic view of the relationship of life and business, and learn to prioritize the things that are truly most important, and not putting those things off like, oh yeah, they'll be fine or whatever, but really like give full present attention to the things that I value most, rather than like, let things that really aren't quite as important kind of steer the ship.
Yeah, that's deep, man.
Your wife really got lucky with that, your current wife, because now that you've created your vision of what your perfect wife looks like,
dude,
she can now say, I'm the perfect wife.
Bro, I have to tell you the story, you guys. So we're on our first date. This is my current wife and I now. And we started sharing horror stories about previous dates. And she's like, so what are you looking for in a woman? And I'm like, well, I actually have a list. I stopped myself. Like, she's like, wait, what'd you say? I first said, I'm like, well, I have a list. I have a lisp. Like I speak with a lisp. She's like, yeah, right, whatever. What did you say? She's like, you have a list? She's like, I want to see it. And I'm like, no way. Guys, listen, this list was literally single spaced 3 pages long. And it had 3 categories. It had like the must-haves, like the non-negotiables. It had the shoulds, like the things that are really important but not fully like deal breakers. And then it had like the would be nice, like, I don't know, likes to give massages or whatever, right? And then I also had the must nots, can nots, would not, shouldn't be, judgmental, racist, like the, vain, whatever it is, right? And so I was in a pickle because this isn't a Word doc. And so if I changed it, she would see the modification date, like in the metadata. So she literally would not talk to me after that date until I forwarded it to her. So like I called her, I texted her. She's like, I want to see the list. I was like, she will not stop. And so I'm like, you know what? I'll just do it. I show her the list. She calls me up as soon as she has the list in front of her, and she's reading it with me. She's like, interesting. And I'm like, oh my, what? She's like, oh, really? And I'm like, oh my gosh, what? So she gets to the end of it. She's like, well, I think I meet all these criteria, but now that I think about it, like I need to make my own list and make sure that you meet my criteria. And I was like, dude, and here we are. Like, true story, man. Like, so it's wild.
So just, when it came to my wife, I also had a list created, and my list was this. I said, every person I've ever dated in my life had a win, and, I didn't waste any time with anybody. So every person I dated, because I dated them, I have something that I absolutely loved and something I absolutely hated. And so I'm like, okay, so when it comes to you, everything that I absolutely am looking for in a woman, this is the list. And I just had must-haves and must-not-haves. I didn't have any gray area there. And then I had the must-not-haves. Like one of those, for instance, was like, you can't be somebody that is a bad drunk. You have to be a fun drunk. If you're a bad drunk, that means that that's the type of person that you really are deep inside. And if you're a fun drunk, then that means that, in my opinion, you're good-hearted and good-souled. You're a good soul.
There is.
And then also, you had to have a good relationship with your parents, because I think that said a lot. Also, if I'm going to have kids with you and everything, I don't want to have to avoid a parent.
Yeah.
And yeah. I mean, just give you a few examples of those situations. But yeah, so I'm right there with you.
Oh, dude, this is awesome.
That's so funny. I can't believe you guys ended up matching on that. That's pretty cool. Well, I guess, I've never been on Tinder, but isn't that kind of like how that works? Like they have their short bio. Aiden probably knows. He's over there looking for cougars.
He's actually that's why the camera didn't switch, because he's our producer. He's sitting there swiping for a while with girls.
Yep.
Yeah. So, well, you were talking about Lifeonaire and you're getting into that. So can you explain Lifeonaire to the fullest, what exactly it is, and somebody listening, if they're interested in it, how they can check it out?
Yeah. Steve was a founder. I got in as a member back in 2009. He coached me through those first few real estate deals. And by the way, for me, early on, I was less interested in the life components because I was so desperate to get out of my job that I only paid attention to the help with the business stuff. Because it really is, it's kind of an organization that really focuses on both life and business and helping people with both. And this is where, like, for instance, like life coaches are great, but they may have no clue how to make money. And then conversely, like a business coach might be amazing, but they may not ask you what you want your life to look like, so they could accidentally destroy your life in the process of helping you build a business. And so Lifeonaire really combines both, and it's coaching, mentoring, masterminds. We have events. And so there's multiple ways we deliver this help to people. And the whole focus is like making sure we just don't sacrifice like the things that we prioritize on that altar of business success. Now, by the way, some people's vision could truly be like, I just want to be successful in business. And, there's people, and that's, I have no problem with that. As long as you've given the conscious thought to that to make sure that's your true decision and that's your final answer and not something that has just been handed down to you by somebody else, or you feel like you just want bragging rights over people that, you want to feel like you're winning in life when in fact, maybe you're losing out, you're playing somebody else's game. So like, as long as you've put in the time into that, we're really, really strongly passionate about helping people figure out really what they want and then creating a business around that life. Like our belief is that business should help you live the life you want to live, not take away from it. And so we help people do that.
Is there a lot of fact finding when someone, like, let's say, Ted and I are like, man, this sounds cool. Let's join this, get into it, whatever. What if somebody doesn't really know what their why is, or they're trying to kind of figure things out? And, because that's a big buzzword out there for everyone. It's like, what's your why? And sometimes I'm like, I don't know. Like, I know what it used to be. It changed. I don't know when. I've never really,
it's overplayed.
Yeah, right.
It is.
But do you have is there a kind of a process for going through that to help people figure things out?
We do. And so like the first exposure to most people in figuring that specific question is really to come to our Get a Life Getaway. It's a 3-day event that's all focused on vision. People read the book too. Like we have a Lifeonaire book. It's done very well. We have, 50,000 plus copies sold, it's a story. It's more of a paradigm changing like narrative of like really what are you prioritizing most and what really is most important to you. But for your vision, like it's really the Get a Life Getaway. Now, and man, the whole why thing, this could be a whole different episode because I feel like this has been maybe like it's too cliche now and people really misunderstand like what it actually means. And so few people, I feel like your why to me, really what you're asking is like, what do I value most? And so I don't think everybody needs this like superhero Everest sized why that's going to drive them through every decision. Like, I don't see that as really playing out for most people, but I do see it play out where people are like, hey, I want to be an amazing husband or an amazing boss or amazing leader. And the reason why I want to do that is so that I can help these people live the life they want to live or help my kids understand what they are capable of as humans as they grow up and develop. But it's not this huge, like, I don't know. To me, it feels like it's been pushed a little bit too far. And also it's been the cause of a lot of stress for people too. Cause they're like, what's my why? I'm like, well, it's kind of different depending on what area we're looking at here. Like, and so I feel like some of this misinterpretation has placed a little bit of undue stress on people that they're like, I'm missing my why. I don't know my why. And I'm not sure that's the case all the times of serving them.
Yeah, no, that's well said, man. All right, Teddy, should we put a bow on this baby?
I think it's time to actually redo our intro part of the podcast because I think in there it says, your why in real estate.
Oh, I thought you meant the copyright laws we were violating.
No, yeah, we had a couple episodes removed off Spotify because our intro music all of a sudden got
trademarked,
and it wasn't trademarked
after
before.
the fact. Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Super weird. Yeah, super weird.
So you look at our episode numbers. If you're listening, guys, and you see that we're skipping some numbers, it's because we're dealing with some trademark issues, and we're trying to fix that right now.
Oh, gotcha.
So that's been really fun.
Ted went rogue out there and just started downloading Eminem.
Put in Metallica on the intro.
It's like some random tune.
I didn't know.
We need to talk to a DJ and just come up with something that's totally unique, I guess. But with that, we do have some questions that we ask every guest, and It's called the OT with Owen and Ted.
All right, we got 5 of these bad boys, and so the first one's a softball for you because apparently you've got a book that you've been working on for a little while. Is that right?
I do, yes. So, and by a little while, we're talking about 3 years. So,
oh wow, okay, so long simmering.
And just so you know, there's been probably about 8 or 9 books first time talked about on this podcast.
Yep. So this is the incubator for hot launch on your new book on the way to bestseller status. Tell us about it. What have you been working on, and what's it about?
Yeah, man, it's called Business for Life. And the whole message of the book is essentially what we've been talking about, where like the purpose of your business is to allow you to live the life you want, to support your life, not sacrifice your life. And so how do you actually do that though? Like it sounds great in theory, but what are the tactical things and the strategic moves you can make to make this a reality? And it's not fluff. It's much more, I'd almost call it, instead of a book, it's almost more like a field manual.
Ooh, I like that. That's well said. You got to put that in the tagline, man. The field manual for building a kick-ass life or something like that.
Oh, I like it, man. Yeah.
That's cool.
It's your podcast. I know you have a podcast called The Lifeonaire Show. It could be that show or it can be any show. It doesn't have to be real estate related. You can interview anyone in the world today that's alive. Who is it? And if you get one question for them to answer, what are you going to ask?
So it would be Alex Hormozi,
great one.
who, by the way, love his content, learned a lot from the guy. And I would ask him, like, what's next? Because I know his goal is to build $1 billion a year business. And my question would be like, okay, so once you hit that, is there another goal, or what does life look like? Is it you're continuing along that path, or maybe you're starting to pause and now it's time to raise a family. Now it's time to put time into whatever it is. Like basically the question would be like, what's next?
Yeah, I love his stuff too, and I just actually was gifted his 3rd book, which I haven't read it yet, but yeah, he's got 3 really good books out there, a ton of content, podcast called The Game, and yeah, I like him. He's so detached. You know what I mean by that? Like, yeah. He's so detached about how he approaches thinking about life and business that sometimes I'm like, are you a robot? Like, is this AI,
right.
AI Hormozi? So I don't know. You can tell he is a kick-ass entrepreneur, but he's just so like formulaic and kind of not robotic, but like, he's just like, yeah, whatever, might work for you, might not. He's just kind of like nonchalant about like the fact that he's just dominating. I don't know. He's an interesting dude.
And I very much have learned, I've learned he's very, very brilliant business mind, but some of our philosophies around things are quite different. Although you could argue they're the same, because if he's truly doing what he values most, which is work, and he openly admits he's working basically from wake to sleep every day. And his wife's the same way. They're in business together. And if that's their true vision, then I'm excited for him. I'm cheering for him. But at some point when you have a numeric goal, you reach that goal. And then what's the next thing? Because you guys know how it is. There's always something else. Is it 10 million? Is it 10 billion? Or is it a shift? And I'd be curious to see what his reflections have been once he's accomplished that. Yeah.
And one thing I noticed about him too is like, he seems to be kind of a nihilist. So I get the sense that he's either agnostic or doesn't believe, in a higher power. And whatever, this isn't a religious show, and everybody's got different belief systems. But he did bring up one thing I caught one time. There's a parable about King Ozymandias, and that was the guy that was building this huge empire, and like he had this gigantic statue of him made, and
a great name, by the way.
Yeah, and it was the second to last episode of Breaking Bad, by the way, was named Ozymandias. I had to Google it. So. Anyway, so the premise is like, he built this huge empire, and then basically he died, like life happened and time went by and his entire empire faded away. And the only thing left of the statue that was built to honor him and show what a kick-ass leader he was like crumbled, and like there was like one piece left. So King Ozymandias, basically the reminder is like, you will build this, but over enough time, no one's going to remember anyway. And that seems to be kind of how Hormozy articulates things.
I've heard similar, things out of him. Yep.
Yeah. Well, deep thoughts there on that. But we'd love to get him on also. So let's do a little
let's do it.
Let's see who gets him first. Get on it. Okay. So sad times, like Ozymandias, we're at your funeral, and we hope that you are going to be remembered for a long time. Ted and I are going to definitely remember you, but you will for sure outlive Ted. Who is going to deliver your eulogy, and what kind of legacy do you hope to leave behind?
So I would like my wife to do it, because for me, the ultimate success is being a great husband and a great father. Like, that is the most important thing to me, bar none. Like, listen, I love business, and there's many other areas where I really am passionate and fortunate to have been involved in. But to me, that's the most important thing. So my hope would be that the legacy I would leave was like, here is a man who loved his family, who was present for them, who poured into, mentored, supported, encouraged, showed what was possible when you put in the hard work, and like never stopped kind of to settle or become complacent with, just the status quo.
Man, that's good.
It's deep.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get really deep though. If you think about your life and who had the biggest impact on you, mentor in your life, who is it? And if you could speak to them directly right now, what would you say?
So that would absolutely be Steve Cook, the gentleman I've mentioned to you before. So when we had first met at that property auction, like way back in the day, I got into his coaching program, and then he had a higher level coaching program at that point that had people in it. Like, I don't know if you guys know, like Wendy Patton, John Heyer was in there, a bunch of like higher level people that like in the real estate space. Oh, and I remember telling Steve,
I'm going side to side.
Just like high level entrepreneurs. And Steve approached me and asked me to be in this group. And I'm like, Steve, like, I'm so honored that you would even think of me, but I am not the kind of caliber person you're looking for in this group. And I'm not going to be able to contribute. And he said, I respectfully disagree. I see something in you, and I think you will be a phenomenal contribution. And in fact, I feel like you're just starting off on your journey. So yeah, you're a little bit further behind, but there's something about you that I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised by as you get involved. And him taking that step of faith in me and expressing that to me made a huge difference. Because like Steve, by the way, not many people know Steve anymore. Early 2000s, like he was one of the national name gurus in the real estate space as like being like just an incredible guy and, an incredible investor. And so when somebody like that has that confidence in you, it meant something to me, and that left an impression on me. And by the way, it kind of came to fruition because like several years after being involved in Lifeonaire, I became a coach, then I became a speaker, then I became a trainer, then I became a partner. And then eventually I ended up buying the company from Steve. And Steve and I still talk, to this day. And so he's the man on earth I would give the most credit to for helping shape me into who I am today.
Oh man, that's good. Hey, wait a minute. Has he written books?
He wrote the Lifeonaire book.
Okay. Was he a real estate dude at all?
He was, yes. And he had courses.
Okay. I think I either took one of his courses, it might've been a book on tape, or it seemed like he had a book, man. That name, now that the more we were talking, I was like, Steve Cook, who, like, that sounds so familiar to me. I think I've read some of his stuff. Like,
you might have, man. So it's funny, like I bought his courses before I ever met him. And I was so impressed because like they were like, you know how you guys have ever bought the courses and it's like size like 18 font single. It looks like they printed off some slides. Like Steve's stuff was like just incredibly detailed, well put together, like real valuable content. And he made them like they were like $300. Meanwhile, everybody else is charging like $3,000. And like, so it was never about the money for Steve. And like that was one of the things that really attracted me about approaching him and getting involved.
Oh, that's super cool, man. All right. Last question for you. What are you looking for in business or life right now that somebody listening to this episode might catch it and might be able to refer you to them, or I guess if you don't have anything that's top of mind, what's the best way to reach out to you?
So the biggest thing I can tell you, the biggest initiative for Lifeonaire right now is, and this is humiliatingly embarrassing, which is we are super late to get into the digital media, social media space. Like most of Lifeonaire has grown off of word of mouth and me speaking with groups of people live. And that is not a model that really, as I have two young girls at home now, like I very much protect my travel time. It's limited to 30 days per year total. but I want to travel even less. And so we're looking to get into the digital space more. And so, expanding and putting out social media content and reaching more people is something that is a big initiative for us right now. So that is a focus for us.
Cool. Yeah, I love it.
If you need some connections in that category, let me know. I'm happy to do some introductions.
Oh, amazing, man. Thank you.
Yeah. So definitely talk. Jason, it was an absolute pleasure to meet you down in New Orleans. You're very open, easy to talk to. Your daughter and you are a team down there. I love that collaboration that you two have. And we've talked numerous times since then, and it's just been, educational, and it's been motivating, and it's led to this right here because we knew that this was going to be it. And I'm excited about having the opportunity to bring you down to Omaha, have you talk to our group and see how we can grow that if I can fit into your 30-day schedule. But, I know that we're going to learn so much more about you, actually get a chance to meet you one-on-one. So we'll definitely work that out and put that together. And if you're listening and you want to come to Omaha, we'll have those details out when that does happen. But with that, Owen Dashner, we see us out.
On behalf of Aiden Bear, Ted Kash, and REIA Radio, I'm Owen Dashner. You've been listening to Jason, workout videos, wife vision boards, and reverse engineering your ideal life. Wojo. Signing off.
Thanks, guys.
Radio edit. I mean,
are you glitching?
No, I mean we're good. Support. Oh, so yeah, so thank you. Sorry, I'm just getting on track.
Ted's
here.
first podcast.
Yeah. Or Wojo.
Wojo, yep.
Okay, just want to double check.
Is it Wojciechowski?
It is, man. How'd you know that?
Just a guess. There was a point guard that played for, wasn't it North Carolina?
It was Duke.
Duke. Sorry. I don't know.
Well, so check it out, dude. This is hilarious. So that's where I went to grad school. And I came down from Massachusetts. I did not follow college basketball, and everybody could say my last name, and I'm like, this is the weirdest thing. Like, I don't understand, like how. And then I go to the Student Union bookstore, and I saw a basketball jersey with Wojciechowski on the back. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Now I get it.
Now, wasn't his name also Jason? Wasn't it
Steve?
Oh, Steve. Okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, dude, he was a stud. I remember watching that dude when I was in high school and college. Yeah, that's funny. Okay, cool.